good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Select News with me, Latifa Hamid. Always a pleasure to be here on set telling you the stories that made the headlines. Now we'll start straightforward with the story of Judith Nabakoba, where she's warning journalists against defaming government's efforts to vaccinate the population against COVID-19. She says the process in general is very tiring and it is for the good of the population, and she advises journalists to report accurately about the COVID-19 vaccine.
The Minister of Health started the vaccination process on March 10th, 2021, and since then, Judith Nabakoba said that the local media has been making endless reports trying to mock the process. The media has been loud in questioning the safety of the AstraZeneca vaccine that was rolled out, among other key issues surrounding a vaccine distribution process. She also went on to condemn in the strongest terms possible subjective to the media stories that mock their efforts. Nabakoba said that when it comes to pandemics, Western intervention is something that Western audiences enjoy seeing, and it is so unfortunate that some of the local media houses have as well put up what she called the colonial mentality. Nabakoba said, for the record, Uganda has had one of the most successful COVID-19 interventions world over, and the media should pick such successful stories. The vaccine is safe, and at the end, all Ugandans will be vaccinated, she added. That as the government, they demand that whosoever chooses to tell the Ugandan story must do so in an informed and objective manner. According to the data from the Ministry of Health, at least 40,000 people have been so far vaccinated against COVID-19, and Nabakoba said that the choice of strategy is not because of lack of money, but it is about the availability of the vaccine globally. On Saturday, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni received his first jab of COVID-19, and Nabakoba said this was to instill confidence in the public. Robert Magna for West TV, Select News.
Important information passed to journalists out there, because these same journalists are supposed to receive the vaccine as well. Now we move forward to another story where the speakership race is mainly between Rebecca Kadaga and Jacob Oulanyah. However, FDC has communicated an official statement to be part of this competition, and they say they will be bringing forward a candidate to participate in this speakership race.
As the speakership race heats up between Rebecca Kadaga and Jacob Oulanyah, all from the NRM party, the Forum for Democratic Change party has communicated about their intention to officially bid for the position.
FDC agenda noza president ayinza okujja istange wedde okwanjula mu butongole candidate waffe, kubanga olwaleero tetunaba kukola statement entongole eya ani gutusimbye okuba speaker. Soka n'olwekyo era ndowooza tunakola ekyo tujja kubeera nga tusisinkana n'ababaka baffe abagenda okulonda speaker.
At the press conference held at the party headquarters in Najana Nkumbi, the FDC candidate, through its general secretary, made an official communication over their plan to send a representative to compete for their hotly contested seat. Harold Kasaija, while addressing party members and the media, called upon members of parliament on the FDC ticket to wait for the party's endorsement before they cast their votes.
Omulimu ogusooka okubasaba nti akalulu kaabwe bakawe bakandidate baffe. Obuvunaanyizibwa obwokubiri batunoonyezeewo n'obululu obulala. Nga bwe twabategeezezza ffe enkola yaffe okubaleetera oyo asinga obulungi. Twasimbyewo bakandidate abasinga obulungi. Kakati omuntu yenna nga ayagala ekisinga obulungi, ekyo nkakasa ffe twakireese.
He assured the public and the parliamentarians of any introduction of a worthy candidate. Among the candidates that have shown interest other than the two main contenders, both from the NRM party, are Asem Junganda and Council Yusuf Chinene Sibambi, the member of parliament elect from Maokota South, who is aspiring for the deputy speaker of parliament. The question now is where the allegiances of some opposition members who had shown their support to the incumbent Rebecca Kadaga will lie with their parties fronting candidates. Maria Dana Namiro for Select News.
Thank you so much for that story. Now, still on the speakership race, Rebecca Kadaga has refused Rebecca Kadaga has been given options to stay as the vice president by a number of people, but she has refused those options, saying that she will remain as the Speaker of Parliament because as the Speaker, she makes independent decisions.
The Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, has sent a message to ruling National Resistance Movement Chairman, President Yoweri Museveni, insisting that she will not take the position of the Vice President. Kadaga claims she will only be the Speaker of Parliament or will not continue to serve in the government of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Kadaga, in a meeting with Museveni last year, was suggested to take on the VP position currently occupied by Edward Chiwanuka Sekandi, but she outrightly refused, bringing the meeting at State House to a standstill. The meeting chaired by Museveni in the presence of the NRM Secretary General Kasula Lumumba, Government Chief Whip Ruth Nankabirwa tried to convince Kadaga to stand down in favor of her deputy Jacob Oulanyah in vain. Kadaga and Oulanyah were expected to meet Museveni again today to resolve the issues surrounding the speakership race, and Kadaga has retaliated, saying she will not take anything less than the Speaker of Parliament. The reason Kadaga gave for not admiring the position is that she does not want to be anyone's deputy but rather be a boss. She further says the Vice President seat is not a position of decision making, and also claims that is why they want her to take up that position. Kadaga has been Speaker of Parliament for over 10 years and wants to take up another term, but a number of people have asked her to step down and give her deputy Jacob Oulanyah a chance to take up her position. Carol Tumwine for Select News.
She announced her bid for running as the Speaker for another term, making it her 11th year in Parliament at Speak Resort Munyonyo. And the NUP had said that they would support her. 5 members from the NUP had showed allegiance to Rebecca Kadaga. However, they have also said that they will be choosing their own candidate sooner or later, and that story will be coming in later. But now let's go through the story of the heavy downpour and rainy season, which has caused a wave of worry over floods. The concern, according to Jesse Muyingo, is in the cutting down of trees among a number of communities, which he says is the main cause of flooding in a number of areas.
3 villages, Champologoma, Tokekulu and Nakabululu in Kamira sub-county have been among the top 3 areas most affected by floods. Dr. Jesse Muyingo, while launching his agriculture project for these villages, noted that if the root cause is not dealt with, the floods will make it impossible for them to practice agriculture. His solution was embedded in afforestation. Residents agree that deforestation is a destructive habit and they promise to do better.
Kati engeri gye tugenda okulongoosa staff quarters abasomesa basobole okusembera okumpi nsuubira nti awo weebadde ate egenda kukyukira ddala.
Tufunye amabaati 50 era tuli basanyufu nnyo, tusuubiza nti tugenda gakozesa oluvannyuma lw'okugafuna mu bwangu ddala.
Pulaani yonna kubanga enju mbadde nnwanyeko ng'eri ku olopuleeti naye ng'ennemeredde kati mbadde ngiyayiya kugisitulako sayidi emu. Ne mukama wa kyagulera essanyu lyennina wano mpitirivu nnyo
ky'omusana ate enkuba bwe yatonnya yajja n'ekibuyaga mungi n'ebambula amayumba n'etuleka ng'emmere ensuku zonna zikoze eki zikanduse.
Bw'ebijanjaalo twagala okusiga enkuba yatuyisa bubi, kibuyaga n'atwonoonera emmere yaffe, naye twebaza gavumenti eno okutuyamba okutudduukirira.
Maria Dana Namiro, Edith Nabagereka for Select News.
Well, we'll now take a short break and then Select News will return with more. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Now we'll go and read for you the story that I told you about NUP deciding to choose their own candidate for the speakership race. Now the National Unity Platform, through its Deputy President, John Baptist Nambeshe, in the absence of the party president, Robert Chagulanyi, who according to reports is out on official duties, have announced a retreat to be held next week in deciding who will be fronted for the speakership race.
This was revealed by John Baptist Nambeshe, who is the Deputy President in charge of Eastern Region for NUP. Nambeshe was addressing the press at the party headquarters in Kamocha.
Okutegeeza eggwanga nti nga NUP tugoberera ensonga enkulu ennyo mu Parliament eya Speaker. Singa eddoboozi eddene yakulembera, singa enganga yeekulembera ebinyonyi, naye osobola okusanga enkambo ng'egoba enganga oba empaawa. NUP okubanga terina kyeyogera nnyo mu ddoboozi ddene ku nsonga ya Speaker, tekitegeeza nti tuginaako bwetaavu.
While addressing NUP members of Parliament and the press at the NUP head offices in Kamocha, Nambeshe said that the public should brace themselves for surprise, as NUP might choose to front their own candidate instead of supporting any of the candidates that have already expressed interest. And he noted that the party was not for sale and that they will come up with independent decision that they would later discuss.
Tugoberera era tujja kwetaba nnyo ddala mu kusalawo ani Speaker wa Parliament. Tujja kutegeeza eggwanga nga tuvudde mu lusiika lwaffe olw'enkizo olujja okubaawo sabiiti ejja nga bamemba ba Parliament, ekibiina kyaffe tujja kukkaanya ku kyokkola, kubanga Speaker wa Parliament eddako, Speaker asalawo ebintu bingi nnyo, tugenda kirekera balala, tujja kukyetabamu, tujja kukibeeramu, tujja kusalawo, twali kubuusabuusa gwe tunaasalawo yajja okubeera Speaker wa Parliament.
A discussion was also held over NUP's next move in securing the freedom of their detained supporters. Nambeshe noted that the party will continue to demand for the unconditional release of their people. Matthias Mpoga, the NUP party deputy president in charge of the Central Region, on the other hand, gave a comment on the celebration of Palm Sunday and promised to dedicate the time in celebrating the week in prayers for their comrades in jail.
Kya National Unity Platform twakkaanyiza twatuddemu nga parliamentary caucus yaffe ne tukkaanya ng'ababaka nti tujja kubaayo n'olusiika tugende tuwayeemu ensonga zino eza Speaker, Deputy Speaker n'ensonga endala tukkaanye tugenda tambula tutya saakira tuwe tutambula ng'ekitole era nga tussa kimu nga nkuyege. So tetwakkaanyizaako olunaku lwaleero tujja kuba n'olusiika wiiki ejja tuwayeemu ku nsonga zino nti tubadde tulinasalawo. Of course that's why tugenda kuba n'olusirika olugenda okutuyamba okuditamininga tugenda tambula tutya ku nsonga eno. So olusirika lujja okutulaga ekyokola.
Arafat Musoke for Select News.
Speakership race seems to be a very hotly contested position, and of course we will be updating you with what happens and who will be winning the speakership position. Now moving forward with the stories, the Chadondo East Member of Parliament-elect Muwada Nkunyinji has today called upon the government to open up schools and avoid stunting the students' progress, and also ensure that while in classes the students are safe from COVID-19.
Chadondo East incoming Member of Parliament Muwada Nkunyinji has today called upon the government to open up schools completely and avoid students getting stunted, since some of the classes are still at home and haven't been in class since their lockdown. The advocate called upon the government to revise the plan they have released that involves a school timetable and first assess if it's going to affect the students positively. He says it involves mental preparedness, and it is a bit hard for the students to catch up at the pace which the government has set. He calls upon the country not to be surprised if at all the results come back and prove that most students have failed their nationals this year. Muwada, however, calls upon the students to also double their effort and not allow to be overshadowed by the much work that they have on their plate. He gave some advice on how to go about their books so as to catch up. He made these remarks while he was giving out scholarships to students that are unable to support themselves in the areas of Chadondo East. He used the random criterion to pick these students out, and he says he's going to give out more scholarships regularly. Nkunyinji stood on the NUP ticket and won the seat as next Member of Parliament of the Chadendo East constituency after being beaten in the 2016 elections. Mwada replaces Chagulanyi Sentamu, who became MP for only one term before he decided to run as President of Uganda in 2021, a battle that he lost to President Museveni. Carol Tumwine for Select News.
Well, next is the story of Sarah Aporo, an HIV-positive activist who was made as part of her journey and awareness on HIV and sensitization on stigmatization of HIV patients.
Through an non-government organization, Sarah proves braver than many when she shares her story and the journey to healing psychologically. In 2017, Sarah for the first time found out that she was HIV positive.
Okay, 2017, it was January. It was 1st of January that I tested positive for HIV, and that led me to the journey of activism. I usually tell people if I'd never tested positive, I would never be an HIV activist.
The journey to accepting her status and taking ARVs was not an easy one, she noted.
Before, when I was negative, I wouldn't have to take medication every day, but being positive has pushed me to the fact that I have to take drugs every day. But if I'm to compare what has really changed about my life, to be honest with you, nothing much has changed apart from having to take medication every day, having doctor's appointments quarterly.
She, however, urges HIV-positive patients to desist against keeping their status a secret from their partners.
HIV is you can't know that. You can't know that someone has HIV. I interact with so many people. But if I don't tell you that I'm positive, you will not know that someone is positive. So that's the thing about HIV is you don't just look at someone and you think they're positive or negative. Now that is what happened to me. I looked at my boyfriend, he looked very healthy, he looked very okay and living his life.
She explains that her story gave her hope to teach others that they can live a healthy life.
And that led me to the journey of activism. I usually tell people if I'd never tested positive, I would never be an HIV activist. But when you get to experience something, you get to learn more, you get to know that there's so much information that is not known outside there. So using my story, reaching out to vulnerable people, reaching out to HIV positive people, it became a passion.
She explains that her story gave her hope to teach others that they can live a healthy life despite testing positive.
Once a person tests HIV positive, enrolls for treatment, by treatment I mean ART, and they take their medication so well. By so well, I mean to the level where the viral load is undetectable. Because once you take your medication so well, the virus is suppressed, and when tests are done, what they mean by viral load, they can't seem to see a trace of virus in the sample that has been taken.
According to Sarah, there are so many untold stories that need to be heard. Edith Nabagerika, Robert Magna for STV Select News.
Thank you so much for staying with us through it all. Now Hasif Sechuunga takes us through the lifestyle of the residents who live in Buvuma Island, and he narrates for us what it is they go through on a daily basis. Well, thank you so much again. I'm sorry that story could not play or was unable to, but now we'll go straight to what is trending in the business world.
STV Select for Fun.
bid to end poverty, over 350 farmers from 3 different sub-counties have launched a money-making scheme that will see farmers earn more than they have had working as individuals.
Started in 2017, has now developed into a fully fledged circle that gives not only loans but produce. Nathan Mayanja Chitaka, the coordinator of this project in Chiwaga district, noted that farming independently is no longer lucrative.
Kakati bwe twali tukola emirimu gyaffe gino owekitibwa Dr. Ruth Nankabirwa tukyaliyanga okulaba gitambula gitya ku saidi ya gavumenti n'alaba nga waliwo ekibulamu ekitonotono abantu okwongera okunyikizibwa kubanga ebintu byajjanga bitonotono nga tebyamala bulungi ate nga n'omukulu wa Operation Restoration naye bwakubayo omulanga tebalina kye bongerako. Kakati natugamba tuyiyewo engeri nga tukolagana wamu ne Operation Restoration tufune n'omu ku balimisa.
Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa, the Member of Parliament, Chiwaga, has promised to offer her full support towards the circle.
Ndikane pigare era oba okulunda embizzi nendabanga nja kubeera nga nze ngaba olulyo olulungi. Kati mu kuyamba bannange ng'omukulembeze netandika programu ya kisoboka Send a Pig nga tukuwa embizzi eyeggwako bwezaala n'olabirira bulungi ebyana ebyo ate embizzi zange olulyo ze zizaala abaana 13, 12, 10 kati awo tuba tujja kujjako eyo enkulu tukujjeko n'ekyana kimu.
She advised that unity and confidence is all they need to become successful.
Ekyokulabirako banno kye basobola kubanga oyinza okukola ekintu nga kya bbeeyi nnyo nga muliraanwawo ajja kitunulako obutunuzi agambe maama nze ekyo sikisobola naye ebiyumba ebisoboka n'enkoko eŋŋanda n'enkoko eza kroila uzireeta wano abantu ne bajja ne bayigirako bwentyo bwe natandika.
The manager Orphans with Vulnerable Children in Chiwaga District, Colonel George Mulalo, has called upon the government to organize a training for farmers if farming is to be elevated for exportations.
Nze ngezezaako okugaba ebintu n'okubifollowinga naye buli lw'ogenda w'otadde ebintu osanga ng'emmwanyi bazitaddewa mabega wa nnyumba ne zikala ne bwe zikala tolina kyomuvunaana naye nga mu butuufu kyo twetaagisa emisomo gigende mu maaso.
Speaking to the members of this circle, they expressed optimism over the benefits they hope to reap from this project.
Okuweera abaana bange sobodde okugulako ne ku nte.
Njenyumirizaamu nti enjigiriza okukolera mu kifo ekitono enjigiriza obulimi nga bwa mutindo.
Rather also called upon the government to help them mitigate challenges they face in farming.
Naddala amazzi sirina ne mu bulunzi amazzi matono ge tulina ate kati ng'ensolo tulina nnyingi amazzi gattawaanya wano mu kitundu tulinawo nayikondo emu
n'akatale twagendako nakaseke abagula emiyembe naye ng'ekintu kye twasiŋŋaanayo osooka kukola woda.
The file was compiled by Adams Mayambala and Edith Nawagereka.
For those stories. Now with that we come to the end of Select News at 9. Thank you so much for allowing us to occupy your screen and would like to wish you a very good night until tomorrow. Have yourself a nice night.